When troubles come and my heart burden be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Praise and thank you for the innumerable blessings you have given us. Thank you for giving us a mind with strength and a heart with love. Thank you for supporting to continue our life amidst the pandemic had resulted a lot of changes in our lives. We are sorry whenever we feel we are left out. Father, help us stay focused in our life. When situations becomes challenging, grant us the gift of courage and enthusiasm. Grant us the grace to use our knowledge for the good of us and others. All these we pray in your mighty name. Amen. Pledge. India is my country. All Indians are my brothers and sisters. I love my country and I am proud of its rich and varied heritage. I shall always try to be worthy of it. I shall give respect to my parents, teachers, and all elders and treat everyone with courtesy. To my country and my people, I pledge my devotion. In their well being and prosperity alone lies my happiness. Jai Hind.
What are the different state principles of curriculum in curriculum? Basically, there are more than 7 approaches in organizing a curriculum. So let's look into each of these organization curriculum approach. Involved in curriculum organization are concentric approach, spiral approach, and interdisciplinary approach. The first approach in curriculum involves concentric approach. So as the name's concentric circle has the same center, but it possesses different radius. Likewise, this curriculum involves a common origin but different dimension at each step. Here, the knowledge is widened slowly and steadily. Thus, a subject matter is spread over a number of years. In introductory year, elementary knowledge is given. In the next year, a higher level of knowledge is added, and this will be developed in subsequent years. Thus, a steady program is maintained to impart knowledge to students. So, there is a painting of a building. Here, a painting involves several coatings are made to give the permanent effect from premier to final touch. Likewise, in knowledge development also, in this concentric approach, we introduce a subject with a very little knowledge first, and subsequently, on going to various academic level, we increases this knowledge one by one. And this method follows the maxims of teaching from all to part as well as from simple to complex. The best example is in the lower classes, people or the child will learn about things they use in their daily life like soap, glass, etc. At a later stage, they may know how these things are made, although, and at high school classes, they study about the manufacture of soap, glass, etc. So these are basically involved in this concentric approach. And the main advantage of this approach involved, there is a greater opportunity for revision of topics which may form the background for additional knowledge to be gained. Also, each topic is not disposed of and the people may revise and remember the different topics. At the same time, teacher takes the topic continuously every year. Teacher knows the weak point of the student and thus can bring necessary modification in topics to make base of the content strong in the students. Thus, the content will be acquired equally in all of the students through this approach. This is the main advantage of this concentric approach. And next is the disadvantages. The teacher must be capable of knowing the abilities with less repetition and monotony. Also, there is a possibility of losing the freshness of the subject as it deals with every year. So these are the main things included in the concentric approach. Next is the spiral approach. Is this visible to all?
No,
Yes,
actually,
yes.
slide
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. ഇല്ല
സ്ലൈഡ്
Slide
ചേഞ്ച് ആവുന്നില്ല
മാറുന്നില്ലേ?
അതിര ഇല്ല ഇല്ല
ഇല്ല
Okay, ഒരു ഇപ്പൊ കാണാവോ?
ഇപ്പൊ കാണാം.
കാണാം.
Okay. Approach is a technique often used in teaching, where first the basic facts of a subject are learned without worrying about details. And also, as the learning progress, more and more details are introduced in this spiral approach. So the name suggests this can be compared as a spiral itself. Here, at the same time, this can be related to the basics which are emphasized many times to help them into the long-term memory. After a mastery of the initial topic, the students spiral upwards as the new knowledge is introduced in next lessons. And also in the end, a rich breadth. And the advantage of this method is that this can be considered as the gradation of linkage, and also continuity of the topic is maintained through this spiral approach. One of the example of this spiral approach is that while considering the topic heat, at the first year we study about or deal about the uses of heat. On the next academic year or the second year, we study about the transfer of knowledge, and the third year we introduce the concept of measurement of heat, and at the last year the law of heat is explained. So these are the method involved in this spiral approach. Next, third type is the type approach. Here the materials to be taught is classified into different types. So it provides the characteristics of a group. These types are arranged according to the increasing order of complexity in the syllabus. And one of the examples is in the periodic table, we know that the group 1, first group is commonly called the alkali group, alkali metals, because all the elements in the first group shows the property of alkali, shows the alkaline nature. Thus, the first group elements are called the alkali metals. Likewise, there is another example. A single element represents a group of elements. These are all included in the type study approach. Advantage of this method involved, it helps the people to make their own generalization from types, and also it is based on the sound psychological principle which provide training in scientific thinking and develop power of observation. These are the main advantages of this type method. And a disadvantage is that all the contents cannot be classified into types. There are certain contents which can't be classified into different types. Then next approach is the topical approach. As the name indicates, here the whole course is divided into number of topics. Subjects are considered as an integral whole and there is no differentiating between physics, chemistry or biology. All the subjects are considered as an integrated one. Science topics are grouped out to topics of immediate interest of the people. So here the topics are classified on the basis of the interest in order to arouse interest in the people. For example, a topic air can include a number of lessons such as in its physical property, chemical properties, combustion, respiration, etc. In all these units or all these topics, the concept air can be taught. And the main advantage of this method involved, there is a closer integration between different branches of science with other subjects. Also, the knowledge imparted become well integrated and correlated and thereby making the subject matter more interest and real to people. Next is the disadvantage of this method. The people do not get a sound knowledge of the subject as it is dealt with in a general way. There is no specific subject is introduced through this curriculum approach. So the student does not get a sound knowledge. Also, the teacher must not be knowing all the different branches of science and must not be a wide reader. And also there is no available textbook based on this type of curricula. So this is one of the main disadvantages of this method. Next curriculum approach is the historical approach. So it is more important to deal with the historical approach or to know about the origin of certain subject. Science has a history of its own and every invention or discovery has a historical background too. This historical approach emphasizes the organizing of the science course in accordance with the evolution of science, that is, the stages through which science has passed. And science is really an expression of human spirit and it is essential that this aspect or the history of the science must be introduced in every people's mind before dealing into the modern developmental approaches of science. So this historical approach mainly focuses on introducing how the origin and what are the process through which the science has developed. And the main limitation is that the school curriculum does not provide these, does not give any importance to this historical approach and they only consider the reality of objectives. And next approach is the general science. General science is a course of scientific study based on the common experiences of children. It tries to explain the laws of nature without dividing the work into biology, chemistry, physics and so on. So here there is no division of the subject matter, but it only considered about the laws of nature. Through this method, it popularizes science instruction by presenting a more simple, attractive, interesting study of scientific facts and principles in relation to the real things of life. An advantage of this general science involved, since the method deals with the situations related with nature, science learned in the classroom must be much useful in daily life, and also the child arouses a sense to solve his practical problems as this method deals with the real problems of life. Since these people get fundamental knowledge about different branches of science, they can wisely choose the branch to be learned in details in the higher classes. So through this curriculum approach, it provides an option to child to choose their own subjective interest according to his wish. And also this scheme provides unity in school science courses. And the disadvantage of this method is that the selection of subject matter as a unified whole is very difficult as considered for each and every pupil. And also the scheme requires proficient teacher to handle simultaneously all the branches of science topic effectively, and it does not provide students sound knowledge of the subject matter. Textbook written in this line is not available too, and also it requires a well-equipped laboratories and libraries which are not easily available. And next is the last approach in curriculum, that is interdisciplinary approach. An interdisciplinary curriculum combines several school subjects into one active project or brings various aspects of curriculum into a meaningful association. So this provides an integrated course of the various subjects that we learned in the school. And this approach motivates and develops learners' power to perceive new relationships and thus to create a new model, systems, and structure. And the main benefits involved in these interdisciplinary approaches are the student explore multiple disciplines through the use of project-based learning or other student-centered learning approaches, and also students examine multiple disciplines for common skills, concepts, and ideas. And the student use multiple materials and resources, including professional experts networks rather than their textbooks. And also students work in flexible cooperative grouping. So these are the main advantages of this interdisciplinary organization. So this is the various approaches or main approaches in curriculum organization. I hope you all understood. Thank you.
Adira, could you please explain the advantages of history type of approach?
Okay. So when this historical based approach is introduced in this school curriculum, it would make that students more benefit to know about how this science has evolved or what are the origin of science. So I think it will be a beneficial one when this historical approach is involved in school curriculum.
Thank you, Adira. Thank you, Adira, for this wonderful session. Let me invite Elsa Rachel Roy to continue with her seminar.
Good morning, one and all. Today I am here to take presentation on the topic correlation. We are going to discuss what is correlation, its importance, types of correlation, and its benefits. Let's go through the PPT. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Before explaining about correlation, we need to understand the aim of education. Education is a coordinated process, and the major aim of education is the unification of knowledge existing in different branches of learning. To achieve such unification, a conscious effort has to be made by teachers who are teaching various subjects. That is, teaching of various subjects should be correlated. It is possible by such a joint venture that we will be able to achieve the goal of unification of knowledge. Then come to what is correlation. The term correlation in its simplest form means connected or to be connected. To be more precise or to be more specific, correlation means mutual relations of two or more things or persons. Then principle of correlation. Herbert is the first person who introduced the idea of correlation. He introduced the idea of correlating the teaching of various subjects, that is, all knowledge in one unit. The principle of correlation. The power of mind does not depend upon the amount of information accumulated in pieces not related to one another, but is rather on well-organized system on which all these pieces of knowledge are taught, showing their relationship one another. This is known as the principle of correlation. We should have to discuss about correlation in teaching. Correlation in teaching indicates a technique which shows the reciprocal relationship or direct relationship between various subjects of the curriculum for making the knowledge concrete and permanent. It is the conscious effort made by teachers teaching various subjects to show similarities or dependence of one subject on another. Or it is the relationship on the same grade level between two subjects or among all the subjects. The next is the importance of correlation. No subject can be taught in isolation. For effective learning, full advantage must be taken of various correlations and applications of physics, chemistry, and other school subjects with daily life. Various inventions in chemistry and physics have contributed a lot to the social and physical advancement of our society. Then next, type of correlation. There are three types of correlation. Correlation with practical life, horizontal or external correlation, vertical or internal correlation. Is it audible?
Yes.
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 First one is correlation with practical life. That is correlation of given subject with daily activities. For example, applying formulas to calculate area of classroom area or home, use of aluminium foil to pack food, it explains its oxide forming property. Then next is horizontal or external correlation. Correlation between the given subject and other subjects. In horizontal correlation, an attempt is made to coordinate the teaching of various subjects. It can be done by three methods: casual, systematic, and concentric. That is, horizontal or external correlation is in three types: casual, systematic, and concentric. Then come to vertical or internal correlation. This type of correlation indicates the relationship between different branches of a given subject. It also includes correlation of different topics in the same branch of given subjects. So, there are three types of correlation. Correlation with practical life, horizontal or external correlation, which indicate the correlation between given subjects and other subjects. Then vertical or internal correlation, which indicates the relationship between different branches of a given subject. Then incidental correlation and systematic correlation. First one, incidental correlation. It is the natural correlation which the teacher secures by coordinating a topic with allied material from other subjects. It requires an exhaustive treatment of subject, bringing about points of similarities with other subjects. The success of incidental correlation depends on wide knowledge and reading of the science teacher. For example, a chemistry teacher, while teaching about oxygen, teacher says about hemoglobin, carrier of oxygen, and mountaineers use oxygen carriers. Then systematic correlation. Systematic correlation with other subjects can be achieved by careful organization of curriculum in different objects, avoiding necessary duplication of subject matter, and at the same time developing related topics from different angles. So, systematic correlation is made possible through careful organization of curriculum by group of teachers. That is, systematic correlation can be effectively only when teachers of different subjects coordinate their work. For example, by teaching about absorption, teacher says about purpose of using charcoal as a purifier in well. This is the difference between, given below is the difference between incidental correlation and systematic correlation. First, incidental correlation. It correlates the subject matter and make use of casually while teaching a unit. It may go unnoticed by some students who are inattentive. If incidental correlation is not made with stress, the student may feel confused as to why the teacher is talking of a topic in the history in physics or chemistry class. Then, transfer of learning achieved is not satisfactory. It does not prevent repetition and the students tends to feel bored. It is in the usual classroom. Then, systematic correlation in curriculum development is well planned and organized effort of a group of teachers. It is noticed by teachers. The relation is made clear to the student. Maximum transfer of learning is achieved. It avoids repetition. It prevents wastage of energy and time in the classroom. Then, correlation of science within the subject or internal or vertical correlation. All the branches of science are interdependent upon each other, and number of facts and principles which are common to various science subjects. As a result, new subjects were evolved like physical chemistry, biophysics, biochemistry, soil chemistry, electrochemistry, geophysics have been introduced. Subjects like atom, heat of chemical reaction, electrolysis are of equal importance in both physics and chemistry. Physics provides instruments for the study of almost all other subjects, thus correlating many principles of physics with the other science subjects. And also chemistry finds its application in various subjects like physics. For example, theory of electrochemical reaction, in biology, chemical maneuvering, in hygiene and physiology, air, water, chemistry of food, chemistry of blood and purification of water. Then come to correlation of physical science with other subjects or horizontal or external correlation. First one, correlation of science and mathematics. Mathematics is probably the sole language of science. Real understanding of science is possible without adequate knowledge in mathematics, algebraic equations, graphs, geometry, calculus, simple statistics, etc. Even simple measurements of area and space require the knowledge of mathematics. For example, knowledge of trigonometrical ratios is very helpful in mechanics and light. Kinetic theory of gases needs the knowledge of coordinate chemistry. So, science and mathematics are equally correlated. Then come to correlation of science and biology. The science of natural science such as zoology, botany and physiology owe to physics and chemistry to explain some common phenomena. For example, respiration in plants, photosynthesis, digestion of food, knowledge about pests and selection of pesticides, etc. can be explained using chemistry. And also absorption and evaporation of water, assimilation of food taken from the soil and atmosphere are explained by physics and chemistry. Then come to correlation of science and language. The peoples of science often have to write essays on scientific topics, on inventions and life of history of scientists, and notes on their laboratory experiments. Science and language teachers have equal responsibilities in developing clear and accurate expressions. For example, science books on natural history and biography are make valuable contribution to literature and provide excellent reading material. Then correlation of science and geography. Geography is based on the scientific principle, so it can be correlated with physical sciences. Facts of climates and seasons depend on the elementary notions of scientific principle. Example, instruments like barometer, seismograph, thermometer, etc. can be used by geographer are common to science also. Lessons on tides, snow and ice, minerals and ores, and also rotation of planets, their influence on climate change, seasons, action of volcanoes, earthquakes are best understood when geography is studied with the aids of physics and chemistry. Then correlation of science and earth science. Different types of rocks, minerals contained in water and petroleum analysis, weathering, metallurgy, etc. can be studied while correlating science and earth science. Then correlation of science and history. It is useful to mention events in world history which coincide with important science discoveries. For example, correlation with science and history is very prominent on topics like story of moon, story of earth, story of man and story of planets. Also, Archimedes found a solution to a problem when king asked him to examine the purity of his crown. Archimedes got the royal patronage in his search for scientific truth. Then correlation of science with art and craft. Science offers a vast scope for activities connected with art and craft. Model making, painting, drawing of chart diagrams and pictures related to the science. For example, atom model. In craft work also, when we prepare some typical things is based on scales of measurement and law of symmetry based on the science. For example, wood and metal work, cardboard modeling, clay work, etc. can be successfully made use in the improvisation and construction of science apparatus. Next, correlation of science and music. A student gets the knowledge of resonance, vibrating systems in string and air columns and musical scale, which is quite useful to him to undergo a study of music. In music, students come across various types of instruments and equipments which are based on the principles of science. Then, correlation of science and life and environment. Modern man lives in a scientific society. Many natural phenomena that we see in our daily life can be explained with the help of simple scientific principle. In every topic, there can be innumerable local examples like ecosystem. Such correlation makes the teaching of science interesting and realistic. Example, photography and cinema. The teacher should refer the use of camera while teaching principles of image formation. Water purification, disinfectants, insecticides and maneuvers provide the examples of everyday use of science. Then come to benefits of correlation. First one is mind perceives knowledge as a whole. All the subjects aim to develop intellectual power of student as a whole. Therefore, it is necessary to correlate one subject to another. So, mind perceives knowledge as a whole. Then it helps for recalling our earlier knowledge and also also help to make the knowledge useful. Correlation of subjects with daily life help to make the knowledge broad-based and makes knowledge useful. Then next is all-round development. Correlation helps for the unification of knowledge and it leads to the all-round development. Then development of psychological value. Thank you.
First, on the approaches of curriculum construction. As all of we understand that what is curriculum? Curriculum is all the processes that really involved in education. So we cannot perform any types of educational activities without a curriculum, since it is the tool with the teacher which helps the teacher to mold his students or pupils according to the objectives of education. And so in which all ways this curriculum can be constructed or designed. So different approaches which really favors a teacher to construct a curriculum. That is 3 approaches. We know that when the education is the behavior and modification of the student, and we want to make a child which is born and brought up in the home without linking with anybody else around the world, and we have to make that child suited to live in this world. So that's a great difference. Like a child who is in home have to be molded to live in a society of different homes. So we can say different families, different members. So that molding up is a very tough process. So based on that objective, the main objective of learning to live in society, learning to live in society, we are really framing our curriculum. But what are the different approaches is already described by Athira. That is on concentric approach, spiral approach, topical approach, and all that. In concentric approach, the student really learned simple generalizations, or you can say very general activities that usually they learn from their daily life in primary school. And when they come to different classes, higher classes, what happens is that they learn more complex or more difficult information. And the sequential arrangement of these experiences from simple, from the daily life, to the complex or more abstract, that is there in the concentric approach. But there is no direct linkage between these 2 types of, or 2 levels of experiences, that experiences from the daily life to abstract level experiences. But there is an arrangement of materials that I have to say that there is a cause-effect relationship. Cause-effect relationships or maxims of teaching, like all to pass, simple to complex, easy to difficult, all that. And such type of things are there. But the thing is, in short, the thing is, this not linked from one to other. So that is, child learn from what they are seeing around them. Then they are, it is going on to a higher level. And at last, by 7th or 8th standard, they are coming to the world situation or the universal situation. So that is it. But there is a continuity in learning, but this continuity is not linked. That is the difference. But in spiral approach, the difference is here, there is a linkage is existing, or you can say more continuity than in concentric approach. In spiral approach, more continuity. That is, here the scope is not, we are learning something in the small standard, but in the higher next standard, we are learning the same topic in a more deep manner.
That is it. So there is a linkage. What we have studied in the 7th standard, it is there. And we are making the student learn more comprehensively on the same topic. So that is for example, if we say there is Indian independence, freedom struggle. So in the first time, in small standard, which country you belongs to? That is India. Next standard, you go, is India a developing country, developed country? Then it comes in that way. And after 5th standard or 6th standard, they are going to learn that India was once a colony of British rule, and we were under British for a century. And after that, we retained our freedom, and we got independence in 1947, like that. And in more high standard, they're going to learn about different revolts against British, Quit India, or another types of revolts. Then again, when it comes to higher standards, this goes like that. Like that, when you say in small standard, when you're saying about matter, different types of matter, there is only 3 types. But when it comes to 10th, 11th, 12th, we are gone for Bose-Einstein's states of matter. So plasma states, Bose-Einstein's nature of the matter, we are going to that level. But that is only in the higher, and there is a continuity, and it is more useful and comprehensive. And what happens is that here it gives more depth to the knowledge, because there is a linkage existing here. So other thing is the student understand why I am learning this topic, because here the student is learning based on a previous experience or previous knowledge, more than concentric approach. So they understood that is the social relevance of this particular content. So even if it is comprehensive, time-centered, society-centered, it is really helpful to learn more. But if I say another way, if a student did not know what if he missed some portions or some classes in between, it becomes very complex for him or her to take up the portion, because it is linked. So the concept of spiral approach is more complex, and if it is not clearly understood by the teacher, it may result in some misunderstanding among the students. So that is it. And it comes to topical approach is another one, is based on the age or ability or interest of the students. The total topics will be selected and given to students. So the teacher is really selecting the topic and preparing some link lessons and giving this to the student. Here, I think above A standard, this has become more familiar. So this is really more easy when we are dealing with our primary things, because which is really familiar for us than history topics or some complex things like that, like some philosophies or something like that, where this topical approach become more effective if we are dealing with the daily lessons. Then again, this approach that gives a action plan for the student, and really it enhances the aptitude of the children. And the students will get a real perception of the matter. But the thing is, it is really divided into different topics. So the student cannot link between 2 topics. The discontinuity is there. That is another thing. Then this, is in lower classes. If you're giving to lower classes, it will not give much result. Because, in lower classes, discovery way of learning something is very difficult, because it can be possible only after 8th standard. Otherwise, more curiosity is there, but solutions is not that much easy. So that's the thing relating to these 3 types of approaches. Okay, the presentation was really good, and I think that you got these three topics and these details. All right. Another way is, spiral means what she showed it is just like climbing up based on the experiences. Whenever we are climbing over time or over the class, the upward or when it goes to the higher level, but the nature of the knowledge that we are gaining in the higher level is also higher. We know that. That is a higher level of knowledge and the higher level of learning, higher standard, highest age, maintaining the continuity. But in concentric plan, it is not like that. There is gap existing between two levels. There is a gap. Each one is a concentric circle, and it is gaps is existing between that. So that is there. Then the other thing is in concentric plan, there is a chance for some additional knowledge, because in each time the students have to revise what they had, because there is no direct link. So what happens? They have to learn once again. Then only they understand what I'm going to learn now. That's the importance of that. Then another one is about biographical or historical approach is also there. That is based on the history of inventions or discoveries. Here, this approach mainly organizing the science course in according to the evolution of science. That is how each thing come into existence now. Based on that only, we learn something or we teach something. It's just a biographical approach. You can see how biography of each invention. That is historical approach. Just if we know how to tell a story correctly, it becomes very interesting. And another way of approach is about nature study. That is learning from the world directly. Here, independently, the students are learning from the nature. Even if they are using books, pictures, all this, the main subject matter, the main reference is the nature itself. So they understand the nature, they enjoy the nature. That's the importance of this type of approach, nature study. And careful and accurate reasoning, that is also happens here. And the power of expression also happens here. And they are become very creative writers, because they have to write their own reports, oral and written descriptions must be there. So all these are very, and above all, there is a free development of the individual happens here, of the student happens here. That's the importance of that. Another one is nature rambling. That is, nature rambling means, here we are giving much importance to the experience of the child. That is, we are allowing the child to ramble in his environment. And he has to learn from every materials he meet with. The scientific situations is likely to face during the course, and the experiences which we are providing, that may be our discrimination, that what type of experiences that we are really exposing the students. But this type of learning really makes the student think, feel and understand. So after each year, we are giving more and more complex experiences, and as a result, more powerful observation, reasoning, all this will be developed. But here, the experiences, based on the experiences, the knowledge are constricting. So we cannot say that there is a systematic development of knowledge. The students are converting their experiences into knowledge by themselves. So we cannot guide them in developing knowledge. We can only provide them the experiences. So, and again, another thing is we cannot provide this type of things to primary classes because they cannot find something new from environment. They can feel everything, but the output from them, it will take some more time, which is not that much suitable for any curriculum development. And these are the different types of curricular approaches. Usually we are using in curriculum organizations. In this two approach, topical, concentric, and spiral, is the most important. And we have to know what is the difference between these three. In knowledge seeking, in knowledge expressions, in different levels of knowledge. And we have to, it is becoming very easy. If you are making columns on these three approaches and allowing them, allowing to give explanation on these three columns, like what are the steps that is following in these three approaches, what are the objective of these three approaches, what are the main elements of these three approaches, like that. It will help a lot in this. So that's about these three things. Now, the portions that is by the Deba, that is on correlation. Correlation, as we know that, is a popular word, or you can say many of us know about popular correlation in statistics, but this correlation is something different from that. That is here how we can correlate or how we can relate one concept to another from any other similar context. That is, if we are going to teach something in a completely circled way, if you can say, if we are going to teach something without linking or without connecting it with without anything else, it's very difficult for the student to understand. So what we are usually doing is that just like that, you have to do that it is here. Then it is easy. If the other situation, just like that, if that situation that is in apostrophe, if that you know, it's easy for you to understand this situation. So the correlation is a familiar situation is helping you to provide more information in a very concise manner. About another thing which you are really unknown. And education is also such a thing, that is, we are going to acquire knowledge, isn't it, from different sources. And most of the knowledge, they are interrelated. So this, if you say more in another way, the knowledge is synthetic, you can say like that. Knowledge is synthetic. And we cannot say knowledge is artificial, knowledge, natural knowledge, nothing like that. We do not know more about natural knowledge, synthetic knowledge, but I think most of the knowledge is synthetic. We have to create knowledge. And it's easy to create that if we are relating that to another thing what we are familiar with. So based on that, the theory of Zilla, G. Gabro, John Dewey gave an importance to the integration of different concepts, which termed later as correlation, which means to be connected. So all these things is already discussed as a reciprocal relationship between different subjects to make the knowledge more permanent. You can say like that. So just I'm going to what are the different types of correlation, and all the other things is discussed here. What's the uses or what the significance, how we can correlate to different things, all these things that we discussed. Just I'm going, principles of correlation is again, we have to know about that. So we know all that things. Just I'm going to discuss about different types. That is, one is vertical correlation or internal correlation. So in vertical or internal correlation, that is a correlation between various divisions of a given subject. Here subject is same and we are correlating different branches of the same subject. So here we can say it may be either from a old knowledge to a new knowledge, or some similar situations, maybe that, but it is between same subject. That is a point. It is between the same subject, different. That is physics to chemistry. This is the same subject, physics to chemistry, science subject, right? So if we are relating that what you have already learned in physics that is in chemistry, you can say it's an internal correlation or vertical correlation. Now we come to then we cannot say about biology also. Okay, we cannot say only about this is a science. When I say about physics and chemistry, you may think that that is only in physics and chemistry. No, when it's arts, history teacher and English teacher, in English itself, different types of literature, we can see correlation in all these subjects. This is what it is called, internal correlation or vertical correlation. If there is a vertical correlation, then as usual, we know that there is another type of correlation that may be horizontal correlation. And if vertical correlation is internal correlation, horizontal correlation is external correlation. That is, as you already think about it, it is the type of correlation between different school subjects in a class. Okay, different school subjects. The other one is same school subject, the different divisions. This one is different school subjects. That is chemistry and music. Okay, maths and chemistry, physics and chemistry, like that. So that is what we are calling as horizontal correlation. This is another one is casual, systematic, concentric. All these are some other terms we are using for this horizontal external correlation. This is the most popular way of correlation. Another one is that is when a teacher, just I will say, if a drawing teacher teaches how to draw an ear, how to draw a nose, the teacher is really helping the biology teacher also, right? Like that, a biology teacher when teaches you how to draw correctly nose or ear, teacher is helping the drawing teacher also. So this type of correlation is mostly existing in teaching. Another one is about incidental or casual correlation. Incidental correlation is the correlation that really happens from the side of the teacher, which is not at all planned. That is, it is not a deliberate one that every teacher had to tell like that. It just happens from the knowledge level of the teacher. Teacher may give some examples when saying something. That is just like that when a teacher saying, you look at the stars, how it comes, how many stars may be there. The teacher on the spot remembers some other previous knowledge of the teacher itself and says, the stars are just like sand on the seashore. So it is not there. But the teacher is really trying the student to understand the number of stars is similar to the number of sand in the seashore, which the student is more familiar. So this is not in the text, but the teacher is taking it from some previous knowledge of the teacher. So that type of knowledge is called casual or incidental correlation. Another one, you can say about many other things like climate. When the teacher explains about climate, the teacher may go for some other explanations of global warming or something like that. If the teacher tells about some geographical features, the teacher may take you to the flood happened 2 years before. Like that, when a history teacher tells about Mahatma Gandhi, the teacher may take you to first, independence, Day of Independence, or revolts of Indian independence, or something like that. These are called incidental correlation. Another one is planned, systematic, or conscious correlation. And here also, that is already discussed. That is, the teacher is doing by themselves. So you have to note all these types of relationship. Another one is about concentric correlation. That is, concentric correlation means not only the appropriate subject could be correlated, but there was probably one subject which could form the core round, with all others could be hinged with a particular concept. That is, when any of the subject can be taught, maths will be a base of any of the subject. If an English teacher is teaching something in English, and the teacher cannot know how to read maths, how the teacher knows Shakespeare is of which century? She cannot explain that. Or some other authors, how many years they lived, or what other contributions throughout the years. They cannot explain anything like that. Or when another one is, if a teacher describes about dyes, about clothing dyes, all that. And it is easy for a teacher, if the teacher knows about segmentation, that how this segment really happens, it is easy for the teacher to understand. But this is chemistry. One is chemistry. Another one is about fashion design. So in another way is history. In every subject, history is there, right? Without history, we are not living. We itself having history of ourselves. So this theory of concentric correlation is another way called this theory of concentration. So, so many types of such things are there which we have to understand, and we have to know all these things. And above all, what I have learned most important is the horizontal correlation for a better and good way of presentation. Keep going. See you on the next session. Thank you.